Hi everyone, it's Jacob, your 5 specialist, and today we are going to look at hand from 200, 400 with 800 straddle on GGPoker, featuring well-known high-stakes player Gražvydas Kontataus from Lithuania. He is a well-known PLO player and he decided to play a PLO 5 card, so let's see how good he is with one additional card. The hand starts with cutoff, opening ace, king for 3, single suited, and Gražvydas on small blind with jack 10, 8, 7 double suited decides to 3-bet. I definitely don't like this play of 3-betting. We can see that there is already straddle of 800, which makes this 100 big blinds effective stacks for the cutoff and small blind. Additionally, straddle has only 50 big blinds effective stack. That means he's able to 3-bet and reshove a wider range than it would be at 100 big blinds deep. That means that cutoff needs to tighten up its opening range. And that's why I think that 3-betting jack 10, 8, 7 double suited is actually a big mistake here. Not blocking ace or a king just means that our opponent is going to have often dominating hand. And also we are going to see more 4-bets, and this hand doesn't play that well against a 4-bet as it's a pocket pair and the 4-bet range is going to be very overpair heavy. On top of that, there is a Russian recreational player on big blind. He's been so far playing almost any hand, and I would not be surprised if he continues or if he decides to enter the pot with somehow wide range, which is bad for jack 10, 8, 7, which doesn't really like to play multi-way pot as its suit get dominated, and of course eights are easily dominated by a higher pair. So for this reason, I would just decide to not 3-bet. And in terms of cold calling, I would go as much far and I would just fold this hand pre-flop, as our odds to cold call are not very good, as we have to call 7.5 big blind to enter the pot, and this is very marginal hand out of this position. So the Lithuanian player playing from Brazil decides to 3-bet and other players fold. That's good. And the original racer, Russian player from cutoff, now has decision to either 4-bet or call, especially if he faces a player who is known to 3-bet wider range. I definitely like 4-betting. With additional dead money in the pot, I think 4-betting is going to be the way to go. Small blinds our hero gets in very tough spot, and the reason behind that is that SPR on the flop is under 1. That means the 4-better is going to jam flop with high frequency. So by calling the 4-bet, he's effectively playing for his whole stack. So he needs to have more than 33% equity. And the board is queen 10-5, 2 diamonds. Both players didn't really hit this board very strong. That being said, the ranges for both players hit this board quite a bit. If I am in shoes of the 3-better, I would be very worried because I'm not blocking any of the flush draws. That means my opponent is very likely to have flush draws. And again, 4-better can jam this board with most of his aces with some sort of backup, and the reason behind that is that he just needs a 28% equity because the SPR is 0.75. So that's what happens. 4-better decides to jam, and now Gražvydas is in super tough spot where a pot is already over 100k. He needs to put additional 50k and he needs 28% equity. So I quickly input this hand into ProPoker tools and I give 3-better all the aces, and the second range is of course the hand of the 3-better, and we can see that against this range he has 34 percent equity, which is more than 28% equity. That being said, this takes into account all the aces, even the very worst one, and we can make an argument that some of the very worst aces, the cutoff either calls pre-flop or he decide to check back on a flop. And so if he makes these adjustments in his range and he doesn't have these weakest aces in his range, it might as well happen that the three better or that Jack 10 8 8 7 doesn't have enough equity to call in this. So it's much close. So of course it's very close spot, but I think he made a substantial mistake pre-flop by three betting. I think a lot of poker players will tend to make these mistakes and overplay these middling pairs. Just remember, in 5 card, it's a game of high cards. If we don't have high cards, that means our opponent has high cards. And after short tank, decides to put the chips in and has 42% equity, which is, I guess, one of the best case scenario for him. But doesn't get there. Turn is a 2 of diamonds, and river is ace of diamonds, and he lost 160k pot with this very marginal hand.